Hi everybody, thank you for coming. So today's class is in regards to a program that Stray H.E.L.P runs called Trap, Neuter, Return. The premise of Trap, Neuter, Return is that there are street cats that need help getting spayed, neutered, they're reproducing, there's no homes for them, many of the shelters are absolutely full, so we're trying to nip the problem in the bud before there's massive, to try and reduce massive reproduction. So I'm going to demonstrate today and have you all demonstrate how to use the traps. So the idea when you are involved in a colony, so we get calls all the time saying, hey, I'm feeding cats or my neighbors are feeding cats and they're reproducing and having kittens. So what we do is work with the colony caretaker. We set them on a feeding schedule so that the cats come at 5 o'clock every day. They get used to coming at that time and not getting fed throughout the day, because then they're like, I don't have to bother with that trap because I know you're going to feed me at 7 o'clock. So we want to try and reduce it, kind of narrow the scope. So this is a standard trap. This opens on both sides, but I'm a little bit nervous about cats escaping, so I have zip tied. Kim here is Vice President of Stray H.E.L.P as well. I'm LaGoy, President of Stray H.E.L.P. Kim is Vice President. We have Kathy and Sheila also. And Kim would be very proud of me because I zip tied the entire back end of this so that they can't escape.
What are you trying to say?
So I'm going to go through it and then I'm going to have one of you step up and practice. So this is the lock that will hold the door. Once they're trapped, they can't get out even if they're pushing down at the bottom. So this mechanism gets lifted up. You push in this door right here, push that right in with your thumb, and then simultaneously you're going to lift up. Ooh. There you go. You're going to lift up the door, and there's another mechanism right under here, and I don't know, Lisa, if you can zoom in on that, where you move this and then let the door down, and that's going to lower it. So I'll just kind of highlight that where my finger is right here. This is the mechanism, and it holds on this little ribbed piece of the door. And then you lower the door and just let it go, and the weight of the door will hold this into place. And then if you want to scan down here, you can see where the trip plate is raised up. I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how to accommodate these very savvy cats who might step over the trip plate, or they just eat right up until here and then they back out. So I mean, we could tell you 1,000 stories about our torment watching cats go in and out of the trap and not setting the trip plate. So when you're actually ready to start trapping, you're going to put just little morsels of food about 10 inches, starting about 10 inches out, even just juice, like tuna juice, and just go right up the line. You're going to follow it in the inside of the trap, and then put what I call the pot of gold behind the trip plate on a plate, and I've got a little kit here for everybody. This way you're tempting them and you're inviting them to come into the trap, and then they want that pot of gold though. So sometimes they'll get distracted and they'll step on the trip plate, and then that'll go down. And then again, in the spirit of zip ties, you want to then run, some of the traps are a little bit looser over here in the front, so you want to then zip tie this closed so that they can't even press that open. I just get a little bit nervous about them escaping. That once they're in the trap and the trap has closed, a really important detail, because imagine being on Mars and being trapped, and now you have aliens coming up close to you when you're not used to having that happen. So you want to just cover them up just like a bird. I cut holes in towels so that the handle can come up in between, and then you have this. And so generally speaking, you're going to want to let them relax a little bit, and sometimes it's the shock, sometimes the slamming of the door, it is obviously very upsetting to the cat. So covering them helps them kind of calm down. I'm going to show you another style of trap, and then we can start practicing. This is a true catch, a completely different style, and they call it a fat cat because it's such a large. These I think actually are also dog traps. So for this, the door actually comes right out completely from the trap, or away from the trap. You're going to raise these rings up on both sides. This is where coordination helps. And then you're going to use your pinky and raise the door up. You can let go of the rings at this point, but you're going to want to hold this upright until you actually set the trap. And if you can zoom in, this is the lever right here where my finger is. You're going to lift that up behind this other mechanism. And then once again, you're going to release the door, so the weight of the door then holds this two-piece. And I don't know if you can come around here and really get a nice close-up shot of that. This is what it would look like once it's set. And you can see where the trip plate will go up. It's the same idea as far as setting the trap and tempting them with treats. You're going to want to start about 8 inches outside of the trap, juice or little tiny morsels, and bring it all the way up, and then put a dish of the food right behind the trip plate. So there's, and then, you know, this is the same idea. So once they, oh, and I can't fit my finger in there. But you get the idea. Oh wait, I could just do this. So that'll, this type of trap is much quieter, which I kind of like, because then it's not quite as jarring when the cat gets trapped. So there's debate whether or not to, you know, do you line the traps or do you not line the traps? And I've done projects where we line some of them, and then other times you just leave it open, because it really does depend on the cat whether or not they mind the feel of the metal on their paws. If you do choose to line the trap, just use a piece of, you know, a newspaper, 1 or 2 sheets. You don't want it to be too heavy, because if it is, then the trip plate will not function properly. So you just want to put this. And on a windy day like today, you can actually use a piece of tape and tape it down on either side so that it doesn't flap around. Cats are very instinctual, and anything out of the norm will really throw them off. So they are definitely not going to step into a trap that's got a couple pieces of paper flapping around. The weight of the food will also help kind of keep it down, but I do find that the tape, and it's just a little piece, and that'll just hold it right into place. And then again, once you trap the cat, and this is a small towel for this, but you want to cover them up, maybe use a beach towel or something like that, and that'll help calm them down. You know, another question that comes up is, when can you start trapping? You can trap, if they can eat on their own, you can trap. And ideally, you are trapping right off the bat.
Ironic.
Hey, buddy.
Isn't it? That's just Elsie.
So this is a good old-fashioned squirrel trap, but it works very, very well for a kitten trap. I'm going to turn this so that you can see the back end of it. I only trap using one side of these. I don't open both sides. I think it gives too much room for error. And I've had a cat actually who was so fast he shot right through it. He stepped on it, but he made it through the other side, and so that traumatized me forevermore, and I never do both sides of it. So for this, you just bring this lever down, and you want to it's a balancing act. You want to just line up this bottom lever here, this bottom mechanism, and then this will hold the door. You want to put this is the lock. You want to make sure that you flip it over, so once that door shuts, it will come down further and it'll lock it into place. So that's another thing that sometimes gets missed, and then they can get out. And so once they're in here, and it just shuts like that, very simple. But you would be amazed. I mean, I've caught kittens that are as young as 5 or 6 weeks old. Sometimes people make the inaccurate assumption that they can just grab the kittens. I don't typically recommend that. Kittens bite, and their teeth are like little hypodermic needles, and it will puncture you and it will hurt. Oh, it's really, and there's a lot of bacteria in the cat's mouths. But aside from the physical danger that you are putting yourself in, it also traumatizes the cats. And I actually did that years ago, and the cat, even to this day, and it was literally years ago, and I did adopt him out, to this day he doesn't like hands. You know, he gets very, or he's very cautious. So, you know, if you're approaching your cat and you're going to pet, you have very good intentions, but that cat is seeing that hand and being brought back to when Anne grabbed him on the staircase. Unsuccessfully, by the way, because he got away from me, and then I ended up having to trap him. So I definitely am of the belief that trapping is the way to go. I think a lot of misconception is that you're going to traumatize the cat, they'll never get over it, they'll never trust me again. Really, it is for safety reasons that you're using the trap, and they're actually associating you less with trauma because it's the trap that they're leery of. And once they're trapped, then they're trapped. And so what you need to have done is going to get done. And then after that, which is the spay neuter, Stray H.E.L.P spay neuters, vaccinates for rabies and distemper, and we also provide a parasitic treatment, which we use Revolution Plus, but it's not just for fleas, it's for ear mites, for worms. It really, for some of these street cats, it is their only shot at seeing a vet. So we want to take advantage of that. And so when we bring them in, we have all of that done. So we're going to practice this, but very quickly also, I wanted to bring your attention to my little mock-up, my salesman mock-up of what an Aftercare cage looks like. So you'll have to use your imagination. I don't know if, Lisa, you can see this.
Yeah.
So we tend to use much larger cages, so we can fit an actual carrier instead of a cardboard box. So, but you want to have a carrier. This is my litter pan, and then you can put food and water up front.
Gotcha.
The reason that I like this kind of container within a container idea is it gives a feral cat an opportunity to really hunker down, and you know, they don't want to be your friend, you know, for the most part, although some of them really are ready to retire off the street. So but it's safer for them. It gives them a sense of security. They can hide in the carrier if they choose to. And then when their caretaker is coming for the recovery care to clean and put water in, you can either, if they're very mellow, you can reach in and shut the door, or you can use a stick or something to actually hold the door shut, reach through the top and hold the door shut, and then you can lock it. So you can do what you need to do and then open it back up and leave them be. So I find that this is a really nice way for the females. Keeping in mind, these females have just had major surgery, so they need time to recover. Generally speaking, we give at least 4 to 5 days. You know, and again, the debate is it more stressful for them to be held in aftercare, or is it, you know, is it more dangerous to let them out right away? There's been many times where at Stray H.E.L.P we actually have encountered a cat that needs a few days and suddenly they're friendly, so putting them back out on the street is not appropriate. Or where there's an injury and we didn't detect it when they've been trapped. Generally, we'll trap the night before the clinic. And when I say clinic, is our appointments to spay and neuter. And then, we notice a wound, or we notice something, maybe they have some sniffles and they need to be held for a little bit more time. It is very rare that I've had a cat that I felt is more stressed being held for those few days than, the risk of holding them is less than the risk of releasing them too soon. So we do highly recommend that the females at least get held for 4 to 5 days. The males, we hold them for a couple days too, and it's like a little R&R. They get a nice place to stay. It's clean. They get fed. These tomcats, they love all that extra food. They're like, this place isn't so bad. So, and in fact, we've had many cats, and this is one of them here. He's got his own Instagram page, Chubbs the Pirate Cat. He was trapped, and you can see where his eye really had a major injury. It was, the globe itself was swollen. We ended up doing the surgery, and he right now is living the life of Riley, that kid. And so these are some of the beautiful faces. They don't look too happy, but that's okay. We don't, we're not doing this to befriend them. We're doing this to help save their lives.
Yep, they're safe.
We use Terra ink. Here's another one. This guy is Ollie? Or Oscar? Ollie. And, he came in looking like this, and shortly thereafter, he's looking like this.
Wow,
and he's been adopted as well. The very sad truth of it is that these females, that are out there are literally from the day they're born, just, endure such traumas. They can reproduce 3 to 4 times per year, having, 4 to 5 kittens per litter. The majority of those kittens do not survive. And when I say that, it's kind of, I think sometimes people just put in their head like, oh, they don't survive. But the reason they don't survive is they get eaten, they get hit by cars, they get shot, they get poisoned. So our philosophy is really to nip it in the bud, get these cats done, spayed, neutered, vaccinated, and then we manage the colony. So I'm kind of walking you through the whole thing here. I hope that's okay. So we work with colony caretakers throughout Mid-Hudson Valley. Once the cats are spayed and neutered, then it's best to, you want to make sure that they're getting fed and watered every day, that they have shelter in the wintertime. So I did bring a couple of samples of different shelters that we use. This one here is like a ready-made. They're fantastic. This one actually has 2 doors. I recommend that these go under a deck because they are canvas, and I think that they aren't as rugged as this one here, which we had Girl Scouts just deliver them today. So here's a sample. This would probably hold 1 cat, and there's 2 openings. So we cover them with plastic to make sure that they remain dry. The more cover that you can get for these shelters, the better. So if there's a deck or even a plyboard, I've seen people construct these little miniature cities where they put a table with plyboard over it and then put the shelters and feeding station underneath that. The cats really do have it very tough, especially in these Northeast winters. So we want to make it as easy as possible for them and as comfortable as possible. Heat is always welcome. These can hold a little heating pad. There's also self-heating beds that when they lay on them, NASA uses them, and they actually, when they lay on them, it warms, but it also reflects the heat back up into their body, and they do work. My house cats even like those. So I'm gonna have people check out the traps, and
Sure.
if you want to give it a shot,
Sure.
and then we're gonna do the drop trap, and that's a little bit different. And you know, one thing that because this, you can see this trip plate is a little bit high, and I think instinctually it may cause the cat to step over it. What I've done is actually use like you need cardboard, not paper, but you place a piece of cardboard, like a stiff piece of board, or even a laminate flooring or something like that, and you lean it just like that. So it extends that trip plate. So when they're stepping back here, it's triggering that trip plate. So that's just one of the things you learn as you watch these cats evade your trap.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to lower this down,
Yeah.
and I'm going to have you give it a shot.
Sure. You have to be one step ahead of them, or 2 steps.
Yeah, exactly. Think like a cat. Top first. The mechanism on top. Yeah. So you're going to lift that up. And then put your thumb up. So put your thumb up here, and you're going to fold this door up.
Oh, gosh.
And then lift that up.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. Okay, so you can let go of this now and hold on to this.
Yeah.
And then with that hand, yep. Sometimes coming down from underneath
Oh, sure.
is easier.
There we go. Whoop.
Yep. You have it. And then you're gonna
There we go.
Yep. So before even letting go of that, you're gonna, and I see that you've done that, so you let go of the door, just so that the weight of the door will hold that mechanism in place.
Yeah.
And you have set your trap.
Yay.
Yeah. You're a few steps away from being a pro. We're gonna send you out all over town. So
I know where to go. I know where they are, the hot spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm gonna have you, since you are our wonderful volunteer that stepped right up. So, all right, so I'm gonna have you raise the rings and then the door. Look at you. You were good at operation as a kid.
I loved that.
Yeah, see? I'm glad I made that reference. And then you're going to come over here. So you want to raise that high enough so this can go behind that lever. Yep. Yep, about halfway, and then you lower the door. And so the weight of the door is what actually holds that mechanism in place.
Oh, okay.
And so these are really great traps. I do love these traps because they're nice and quiet. Also, and all of them have these little protective plates. There's a reason for that protective plate.
Okay.
Because let me tell you, there's a lot of, oh my gosh, I've got,
They jump. Okay.
they swat or they, try and claw.
Sure.
So you never want to pick up a trap like this. Because one of the most painful spots to get bit is right on the fleshy part of your fingers.
All those nerves.
Oh, yeah, very painful. So, this is really great. This over here is another kind of balancing. It's the lock, because this goes up and down, and we'll go over that with the drop trap. But you can use this to kind of balance so that when you're picking this up, and it's a workout too. You're lifting these traps and you have, a cat. So, and again, the final thing once they're trapped is you want to cover them with a towel, because that will help kind of calm them down. If there's a group of cats that are being trapped, let's say you're going for 10, and that's not unusual. So let's say you're going for 10 and you've trapped one, and the cat is like, oh, there's a meal in here, and it doesn't really seem to be getting upset. Leave it be, because if it's not upset and in the trap, the other cats watching all of this are like, oh, well, I guess it's not so bad. I can go into this trap next door, Right. But if they're really going crazy and going back and forth, which is not unusual, and I know it's upsetting as a compassionate human to watch that. So again, the towel will help calm them down. If they are really going crazy, you just want to, you want to cover them up, and then you can just bring it a few feet over, set it next to your car, and set it to the side so that they can just kind of calm down and be away from the other cats, so that the other cats are not getting really upset.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, do we have time? Can I show you the drop trap?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
How can you catch a mama when you've already got the kittens in the trap?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Thank you, Kathy. So that brings us, there's a couple of different techniques that you can do. So I'm going to use this as our little kitten. So let's say we have a kitten in here, and Mama is very upset with you for catching her babies. What we have done is, in the past, you can set the trap either this way, or this way, right up next to the set trap. So this is a trap that's set, the door is open. I still, even though I'm using the kittens as bait, I still put food in there, because let's face it, a lot of times Mama's more interested in the food than her babies. I'm not being critical, but sometimes that's the case, because they're hungry. They're feeding. I'm going to take this off now. So they're feeding all these kitties. So what is a nice kind of deterrent from Mom coming around the side and kind of trying to get at the kittens this way, I use a towel and I'll cover the kittens. And you can do this either with a carrier, you can do it with the kitten trap, even another live trap, and then cover this so that Mom is really kind of forced to go in this way. There are traps, and we do have one, that have an extension where the inside of the trap, it's like another mesh wall, and you can put that mesh wall down and then put the kittens literally inside the trap. I've done that. I've used this, which I haven't talked about, my favorite tool, my favorite trapping tool. This is a trap divider. What I have done with kittens is I set this down, and because this is such a large trap, you actually need one sized for this trap. And then you put the kittens on the one side. I have actually had a mother pull her little baby through and run off with that one, and then I'm stuck with Junior, who needs to be bottle fed, and Mom's like, run off. I did end up catching the mother, but yeah, so you want to be sure that the kitten is secure and the mother can't grab the kitten and run off.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to bring you over here. And this is a really wonderful, whoever designed this is a genius. So I'm going to kind of double up. Whether you're using kittens or food, you want to set the bait right in the center back of the trap. And then you're going to set this tongue down. So it's like Wile E. Coyote catching or not catching the Roadrunner, but you're going to have more success with this than Wile E. Coyote did. And so Sheila, would you mind being our next volunteer? Come on up. I'm going to hand this to you, and then I'm going to come back over here. So this is a really great tool. It can also be used as a feeding station. If you have some really skeptical cats that you're having a lot of trouble with, I always do recommend for people to set this up as a feeding station. You can cover it with plastic, so if it rains, it's dry. I actually just recently modified another trap that I have using a piece of plank wood. I screwed the back to hold so that it actually stayed put and there was no, it's not going to jostle around. The pros of this is it works really well. Cats get used to going under it. you can catch the cat that you're going for. So let's say those 10 cats, you have one mama cat that you haven't gotten yet. Let's say 5 of the cats you've already gotten, they can come under it, they can eat, and then they can leave, and you can really focus on the one cat that you need. The con is you have to be there to do it, so they have to get comfortable with you somewhat of actually being there. It has to be on a very level piece of yard or sidewalk, which is where the plank of wood comes in, because then you don't have to worry about that. It can be a little bit off. I actually caught a cat right here in Fishkill after months of feeding this cat, shoveling out the snow. I mean, it was just torture. And he got out from under this thing because I pulled it, it landed, but it was on like a little bit of ice, and he was able to get his paw underneath it, and he right out. So, so having it be on a flat space is really super important. So again, you're either using food or you're using the mother's kittens. They come under, and then, so ready, Sheila? I'm gonna let you know when your cat is there. So they come over. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about using it as a feeding station too once Sheila demonstrates how to do it. So your cat is going under. You wanna make sure to put the food in the center so that the body of the cat is completely under. And so ready, here comes your cat, Sheila, and your heart's racing, believe me. There you go.
Wow.
And the thing you don't,
So simple.
it's so simple. But you know what? But when you're under,
I know
Sheila,
it's
and
not,
and you are definitely one for this.
Well,
Your heart's racing.
There was one that I was feeding one colony where you were trying to do it for days and days, and the cat just wouldn't. You know,
You got to
wouldn't do
set
it.
it up. And you know, the thing is also, it's like you make it look so simple, but your heart's going. You know, and the cat's under there, and you're in your mind you're thinking, okay, am I going to harm the cat? Is it going to land on the cat? So again, that's why you really want to focus on having it in the center. If you are going the setting up the feeding station route, what I do is, if I have it set up like this, I will put a brick. We're going to pretend here that these are our bricks. I will put a brick in front of and behind so that it doesn't mistakenly fall down. I know Kim has done this before here, where you're gonna actually take the door off so that when it does fall, if it does fall, then the cat can still get out and you're not worrying about it being stuck under there. You know, and I've had people set up these feeding stations for weeks, and sometimes that's what it takes, months even, because if the cat is really skittish and they're not going to eat in front of you, you really have to stay at it. And I think the biggest thing is just determination. You know, if people are really determined and they want to end the suffering of that mama cat who's had litter after litter every year, you just got to stay with it. So now that Sheila has caught her cat, and it's down here, right? Yeah, that's right. So she wins the gold paw. You wanted the same idea, and you can use a sheet. Same idea. You want to cover it up so that they have a minute to kind of calm down. Because now, instead of having it in an enclosed trap, it's bouncing around in this. And then you have to do the transfer. So that's where, you know, and I mean, it's still to this day, my heart races, and I've been doing it for years. I've trapped, I don't even know how many cats under this, but your heart is still racing. And it's that transfer that, you know, you're like, okay, so don't do your victory dance until you actually do the transfer. For the transfer, you need what we call the guillotine door, and that's one that slides up and down, because what you're going to do is now place this door, or this trap, right up against here. Now, to narrow the margin of error, you can actually hook they have 2 extra hooks that normally hold this door in place, but you're going to now move them so that they hold the trap in place. And again, anything to do with cats, you have to have patience. So don't panic, don't feel like you have to hurry up and get them in there. Don't lift the lid and think you're going to be grabbing feral tomcat and putting him into a carrier, because he will win. he will win in that fight. Okay, so this way you can lift this door and lift this door, right? And so again, because these are hooked, you're not going to have to worry about it getting through, you know, the edges. One of the things that I like to do when I'm transferring from the drop trap to this trap, you want to cover this trap, but not completely. You want to make it look like it's a tunnel and they can run out the other end, even though they can't, because this is nice and secure. And then this way you have this up. It really is much easier to have at least 2 people because otherwise you're playing Twister.
Right.
So if you have someone here, and even just kind of, I mean, you can sit on it, you can hold it down, you want to hold the door, and this is covered again. So the idea, and I'm going to cover my face here again. Go ahead and you hold that up.
Yep.
And so the idea is that you want to, and I hate using the word, but it is the correct word, you want to kind of intimidate the cat to get away from you, because the cat wants to get away from you. So you, as the person holding the trap, you want to make sure exactly where you are. You want to step to the side so it's not feeling like, great, I have this human that I'm trying to get away from and that human that I'm going to.
Yep.
And then we uncover. And don't be surprised, it's going to be going to this corner and over here. You just wait it out. You just really wait it out. Or like in some experiences, you might be waiting for a half an hour, but you know. But generally, so what I do in this case, if they're really going around, then what I might say to my partner is, hey, you stand right here holding the door, and I'll stand here. So again, you're kind of intimidating because the cat wants to get away from you.
Yep.
And so we're kind of just funneling it this way.
Yep. Yep.
I do believe they have a giant fork. Do they have a giant fork?
I think
that
they do.
that can kind of cut this in half so they're not coming all 4 corners.
Yep.
But it really is just a matter of, you just got to wait it out, and they will eventually go to that other. So once the cat does go to the other trap, then you just simply lower that, either one at a time or both at a time. Don't be surprised once they start hearing that lower, sometimes they run back out here, and all that 15 minutes that you've just been trying to funnel the cat in there, you got to start over.
15 minutes of fame, huh?
15 minutes of fame. And so, and you know, it's funny because just what you're doing, like you see this is kind of up and you're like, oh gosh, I don't know, is that, you know, you don't want to pull anything away.
Yep.
So the catch, you did exactly what should be done. This trap is lowered entirely.
Perfect.
So it can't get out. Now, the thing that I always caution people, don't start pulling it away unless you're holding this down because it's not been locked shut yet.
Yep.
So we want to then move this over, right? So it's unhooking this. Don't worry about that second one. You can just slide this over and then lock the mechanism.
Yep.
And so there's we always keep a little carabiner clip
Yep.
here so that it literally locks it shut.
Gotcha.
Or
Yep.
the zip ties. We love the zip ties.
Yep. Yep.
You know, you can even lock it down here. And so that's your transfer. So now you have successfully used the drop trap, and you still have either food or kittens in there. The drop trap can be kind of messy. So, because when they're racing around underneath the trap and you have a nice big plate of food, that plate of food is on the cat, it's all over. So when you are going to trap, then I always recommend that less is more. So you don't want to put a huge plate of food. If you have 5 cats, you know, put a little bit of food there, but you know, not too much. And then once you've trapped the cat that you're going for, then you can just put more food down,
Yep.
and you don't have to worry about the drop trap.
Yep.
So my record is 3.
Oh, okay.
Under the same
Wow.
trap, right? How many have you gotten?
I would
3?
say about no
2
more
or
than
3?
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if that is the case, because that's something that comes up too. So let's say you catch 2 cats that you've already done before and 1 cat that you haven't. No worries. Don't lift the drop trap. Just one by one, transfer them into this.
Yep.
And then the ones that you've already gotten, just simply open that up and let the ones that you've already gotten back out.
Sure.
And then once you have the one that you're looking to spay and neuter, they stay in the trap.
Yep. Yep.
If you have more than one that needs to be done, you just get a second trap and you just one by one transfer them out.
Sure. Sure.
So,
Awesome.
are there any other questions? Any experiences that we want to share?